Let's get started. So welcome, Cooking with Heart, Foundational Class 2. So this is a really important topic to me, and it's dear. It's one of my favorite ones. It's not covered rarely ever by programs or nutrition. So it's really, really powerful. So we'll get to it in just a moment. Next week, we're going to talk about plant-focused eating. So next week, we are going to have a couple dishes that use this sometimes trash-talked food called tofu. You don't have to try the tofu. Okay, it's okay. I get that look all the time, guys. So we had some turned up lips and noses here. So that's okay. But I do want to kind of unveil the mystery behind it, because the more you know, then you can make a better decision. But we also are going to do wraps. And I mean wraps, I don't mean flour tortilla. That's too boring. That's too, nah. So we're going to do some other ways. I'm going to introduce you collard wrap, but also some other ones that you may not have thought about. And then we're going to have a hoisin sauce. That's a really good sauce. It really just spices up things really nicely. So we're going to cover that next week. Let's see. We're going to have next week a nearly instant. It's called a salmon sushi bowl. Okay, so we're going to use canned salmon, and we're going to use some seaweed. So, it's really good. It's got a little bit of sriracha, some lemon in there. So really good combination. And today we're going to do a surprise sauce that all chefs know how to make. We're going to do a quinoa berry salad. It's one of those that's really fun to serve for a luncheon. It's that kind of elegant, but you can always make it for yourself too. And then spiralized zoodles, which I'm super excited because the other night I went to Revive Cafe. Anybody been to Revive Cafe? Oh, that's I think my new favorite place. So I had a bowl the other night that had spiralized noodles in the bottom, and it was fantastic. It wasn't cooked. It was just spiralized noodles with spinach and feta cheese and Greek olives and a little chicken, and oh my goodness, it was so delicious. So I'm like, oh, that would work really well with. But tonight I'm going to show you how to do zoodles and cook them up in a really easy dish. Roasted broccoli, amazing broccoli. So we're going to roast a vegetable so you understand what roasting does to a vegetable. And then nearly instant crunchy peanut bowl. So that one takes 10 minutes at most. So, okay, so tell me a little bit about what do plants promote for heart healthy eating? So, or heart health. How do plants connect to heart health? What do we get from plants that helps our heart? I know we haven't covered this super in depth, but I just want to throw it out there. What are your thoughts? And I'll fill in some blanks. Antioxidants. Bingo. Thank you, Andrew. Other things come to mind.
Sodium.
Yes, bingo. Thank you, Phil. Low sodium. So anybody at home, send it to me in the chat, or if you're comfortable, take yourself off mute and just chip in there. So anything else you think of for plants for heart healthiness?
Fiber.
Low fat. Yes. What? Lynette,
Fiber.
did you chime in? Fiber? Yes. Fiber. You guys almost have my whole list. So awesome. So nitrites in the green ones, the green leafy, they help the lining of the arteries there, keep them flexible. You kind of touched on this, Andrew, but when we talk about the antioxidants, we talk polyphenols and also anti-inflammatory and oxidative stress they help with. So all those things are great. They also are naturally, when we're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, they're high in potassium. And something that is lesser known is the ratio of your potassium to your sodium. In other words, bring the sodium down and the potassium up. You find blood pressure works really well. So it's better to do increasing potassium and lowering sodium than just lowering sodium, because a lot of times we hear that lowering sodium. So, okay. One of the hardest things about this journey in health is keeping up your motivation, your mindset. So I sent you last week the big why video. If you had a chance, listen to that, just starting to understand, why am I doing this? What's really the big vision? So I know my doctor has said, or I've read some articles, I need to do this, but do you have really succinctly what this is bringing you in life? How is it going to? I like to talk about success. I'm going to have people share their successes. Success to me is a learning. It's that simple. So success is going to be changing your thinking. Success is you're coming here. You changed your behavior by coming here and spending your Thursday evening here. Success is when you drive by a fast food and you go, you know what? I'm not really thinking about that. That's not really something I'm wanting at the moment. Or maybe I want it, but I know it's not going to serve me. So you know what? Tonight I'm going to pass on it. Or you go through the drive-through and you just say, hey, I realize this isn't serving me maybe, but I'm working on this. So you're thinking differently. So all those things. So one of my favorite all-time podcasts is Dr. Rangan. It's kind of like my last name, Rangan. I don't know if that's maybe why I like him. Dr. Rangan, he's the top podcast in the UK for medical. So he's this really wonderful gentleman. He's almost 7 foot. And one of the things he does with his patients is he's very trying to dig to what can help his patients. So much so he actually did a show back around 2016, 17, where he actually went and lived with patients. And these were not the upper crust patients. These were regular Joe Schmo. And I don't know if you know anything about UK living, but a normal place there is much smaller than here, okay? And so there was no guest bedrooms in these places. He was sleeping on the couch, and he's almost 7 foot, okay? So, and he was spending the night at these places. So, because he wanted to observe patients in their home lifestyle to really get at, is it how they're holding themselves? Is it their eating habits? Is it their relationships? Is it, just all these factors that go into really your health. So one thing he's noticed is it is hard to keep kind of motivation going. So one of his recommendations with his patients is that they get a jar and they put it somewhere visible, the kitchen or the living room or somewhere, and put some coffee beans next to it. And when they walk by, they think about the changes they've made, the learnings they've had, and they drop one in each time. And over time, you start to see that build up, because we tend to think success is the cholesterol dropping, or the scale dropping, or blood pressure dropping, or how many stairs we can do. Okay, those are fine, but those really aren't, to me, the true measures of success. You're here, you're making changes, that's huge. And I want you to feel those. I call those the gain and not the gap. We tend to focus on the gap, like, I haven't done XYZ yet. I'm not yet. That's the gap. Don't focus on it. Focus on the gain. What are you gaining? What are you learning? So I'm going to pass this around. I had everybody here take a couple coffee beans, and I want them to go around and think about, even as simple as coming here tonight is a huge gain. So as you put in your coffee bean, I want you to think about one thing, each bean that you put in there that you've done. It's not about how big or small. It's just that you've learned something. You've made a change. So you're on your way to making changes. There's all kinds of steps in that process. Okay, so while we're doing that, I do want to hear, I've already heard a little bit from some of our in-person participants here, and I would love for them to share so everybody can hear. But I want to hear what things you learned this last week. You tried out, it might have gone well, you might have not, gone as planned, but you learned. So, label reading, anything. So now the floor is yours.
I find it's hard.
Oh,
I
go
just
ahead,
find
Louise.
it's hard to find products that are low sodium, that aren't more expensive than the regular product on the grocery shelf. That frustrates me. It's hard to find the low sodium items.
Lynette, yes, I can totally sympathize with that. So, there is a multitude of high sodium products out there. It's cheap. It helps the product stay longer on the shelf. We're kind of addicted, and we'll talk more about that in a future class with that salt. So it's an easy kind of out for manufacturers. But I also want you to not be discouraged because there's a lot of seasonings we can do on our own and products, things that we can do without the package or and add our own seasonings. And I just ask you to keep persevering. It might not be that product that you think you had your mind intent on, but we might have to go a little sideways to find something. And tonight, we're gonna make a secret sauce that is super inexpensive, doesn't have any salt in it, and it adds a lot of zing to things. I will also, if you want to go a little quicker, I have some dressings that are off the shelf. They're not super low sodium. That is usually, there's a little bit of a give and take. If you want it super quick, in a lot of cases, there's going to be a little more sodium in it. It doesn't mean a lot, but but I totally get where you're coming from, Lynette. Thank you for sharing. So you've been looking, so that's success, huge success. Others?
I could say something to help her there.
Wonderful.
It wasn't this week. I normally do all the cooking at home, and because of her desire to get a little bit healthier because of some health issues, I've changed the way I cook. So I made, it's not this week, but week or so before, but I can help her with some ideas. I made homemade chicken fajitas.
Yum.
And normally I would just open a package of fajita mix, which has got about 10 billion grams. So I basically made homemade fajita mix seasoning, which was cumin, chili powder, chipotle powder, some garlic, and a few other things, black pepper. And it's basic, and it was very good, and it was basically sodium free. I mean, it had chicken in it and bell peppers and onions and different things like that, and then we used whole wheat shells.
My kids, the kids loved it too, so.
Oh, wow.
So there's ways you can do it. You just kind of got to get creative
And
some different seasons.
that you got the benefit, the gift. It's so you got the flavor. It sounds like the flavor was
I think
comparable, if not better. Okay.
Like I ate a salt shaker.
Yes. And you got, I'm hearing the words cumin and other things.
Cumin, chili powders, garlic powder, paprika, there was a few other things. Most of it was the Mexican spices, chili
You
powders.
get a lot of benefit from using those spices. There's gifts in those that will help your defense system.
Yeah, nonstop.
So, and if you were using the salt, you'll get the salt and you won't get all those spices. So those are gifts that you got. So Andrew, would you be willing to send me your kind of concoction so that the rest of the class could?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay, look at there, Lynette. Look at that gift. So,
Yeah,
I
she
love
likes
it.
fajitas.
Do you like fajitas, Lynette?
Yes.
Yes, she says yes. Awesome, awesome. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Andrew. Carl, can you share?
Well, I just like kale a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I think I already told you, I tried the kale salad last week. Made a couple substitutions. I couldn't find any garlic paste anywhere, so I used garlic powder.
Uh-huh.
Don't like walnuts, so I put in pecans instead of that. And then I added honey to the dressing, which really changed it
Sure.
from what it was last week. It was, honestly, it was good.
Yeah. Okay, so did you guys catch that? Carl made the kale salad. He did some substitutions that made it even better for him. Pecans, garlic powder, and some honey. So, wow, love it. So, yeah, awesome. Other sharings?
Cauliflower rice is only in the frozen food section.
Oh, well, good point, Phil. I did not mention that. So cauliflower rice is only in the frozen food section. And so, yes, now you can make it from scratch, but it's not going to be, you're right. It's only the grocery store, only in the frozen food section. So a lesson for everybody to learn. So awesome. Okay, well, thank you. I love hearing about that. Okay, so let's dive into our topic for today. How many of us don't know that we need to eat more vegetables or drink more water? I don't see any hands. No? Okay. So for most people, the problem isn't what we should be doing, but how to make it stick, to make it autopilot. So a quote by a researcher on behavior change, BJ Fogg, says there's just one way to radically change your behavior. Radically change your environment. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We want to create an environment that focuses on the habit that you want to easily take place. Behavior change journalist James Clear calls this priming your environment. So let's use another example than food. Let's say if you want to help your grandchild or your child read, what do you do in their bedroom? Get them books, put books there. What else? Read to them. Yes. Put a light by the bed. Yeah, things like that. Make a little beanbag chair and nook where they can read or, so yes, these are all things we're doing to make it easy and fun for them to read. If you want to get a quality night's sleep, what are some of the priming in the environment that we do there? Buy a new mattress. Ooh, I like that one. Okay. Other things we do to prime for that sleep quality.
Stop the electronics.
Stop the electronics. Yeah. Dim the lights, things like that. So don't turn the sound machine for that. Yes, things like that. Charging the phone outside the bedroom. Things like that. Okay. So you're organizing your environment so it's easy to do what you want to do. The other thing is at the same time, we want to make it hard to do the things we want to cut out or do less often. Okay, so this is called increasing the friction. So the amount of work that's required to do the habits that we want to do less of or not at all. So let's try some examples here. So let's say we want to eat less food. Do we serve it on a bigger or a smaller plate? Smaller. Going from a 12-inch to a 10-inch, for research, we find it saves 22% calories, even if you know it. So going from the paper plates, the styrofoam paper plates, they are 10-inch. So if you want to try it out before investing fully in a new set of dishes, you can try out the styrofoam plates. So some of my set is an 8-inch, like the medium is. So I use the 8-inch. It does sometimes get to be a pain. I have to add a small bowl on the side because it's not going to fit on that 8-inch. But it really does work. So you can always go back for seconds. But it's amazing how you just eat that one smaller plate. Okay. So some other things. If you want to stay away from junk food in the house, tell me whether you do A, B, or C. A, you put the junk food on the counter. B, you put it in the garage. C, you put it in the storage room where you need a ladder to get to it. Don't buy it. Yeah, I did say D, don't buy it. So either B or C, okay? I have some food in my storage room. It doesn't require a ladder, but it's off in the storage room. I have some stuff there. Also, having it, even if you have it in the kitchen, have it where you have to get a stool or a chair. So some of you may have young adult kids that you can't entirely get out the junk food. So I have a cupboard that's devoted to that. During COVID, if I got up in the morning and found junk food on the counters, I'd have a little chit chat with somebody. So I don't want to see it. I have normal willpower. I just know how to set up my environment so I don't overeat or I don't eat things I want to avoid. Okay, so let's try another. If you want to avoid eating chocolates at work that are in addition near you, which creates the most friction? You put them out of sight in a drawer, out of reach. You move them 6 feet further away. or leave them just where they are. Research shows that 6 feet away, you'll eat half as much. In some cases, we can't hide it because it's really kind of the department candy or whatever. So it'd be nice if you could just put it in a drawer away, but simply having it out of reach, 6 feet away. So Google, they have kitchenettes, and they have like the half refrigerators and stuff. They put out on the counter a fresh bowl of fruit. And then they have in the drawers the bars, and then the little half refrigerator, the see-through, the part that they have the glass that you can see is the water. The lower half where it's frosted and they have a color through it, it's the pop and the juice. And the people that work there say, we're not stupid. We know where the candy is and the sugar drinks are, but we just don't go for it as often. We find we just don't. So just doing that really makes a difference. Okay, so one more. If you want to make meal prep easier, do you A or B? A, assume you'll get home 1 hour before dinner with lots of energy left and be motivated to make an entirely new meal recipe. Or B, you find when your mental energy is the highest for you. Maybe after dinner is done and cleaned up, and you could do meal prep for the next day, or maybe first thing in the morning with your cup of coffee, or maybe on the weekend. You make a note and prep some things that when there's no pressure on Sunday or the weekend. So a lot of people will try and do things and plan things when they have the lowest energy, mental energy. And that's just not good. Not until you've done it a few times and you can pretty much do it with little mental energy. So, and having times to just prep. Right now, my daughter, she's 14, so I kind of find that if I make the meals ahead for her, she won't eat them, okay? Like right now, like she's at home. She likes to do her own thing, but I kind of prime her a little bit. So I've got mango cut up in a glass container that you see first when you open the refrigerator. She loves mango. And I have a bowl of broccoli that I texted her and let her know. Now she loves air fried broccoli. Now, if I had set the broccoli out just as a broccoli stalk, would she have washed it and cut it up and made? Yeah. But it's in a bright orange bowl right there when she opens the refrigerator, and it's already cut up, ready to just toss into the air fryer. So I'm crossing my fingers, but you know, she is a teenager, so I'll go with whatever happens. So, but having these things so that they're easy really makes a difference. Okay, so let's hop on over to the PowerPoint. I did click, there we go. Okay, so redesigning our kitchen for health-centric eating. Okay, kitchen is the most critical environment in our daily living. If you keep good food in your refrigerator, you'll eat good food. Sounds so simple, but we don't think about it and make that happen. Okay, how many food decisions do you think on average we do a day? We've done research on this. So 20 was a guess. Any other guesses? Go higher. Higher. 50.
Yes or no decision.
219. So because we'll think, oh, am I hungry? Should I eat now or should I wait? What do I have? oh, let me look at the time. Oh, it's not quite time to eat. So we have all these decisions that go in, and we have to do this every day, several times a day. So a lot of energy is spent into eating. So what if we could make it a little easier? So what if you had food on hand, like oatmeal, fruit, green tea, coffee, leftovers that were delicious, like the kale salad, beans, fish, artichokes, sliced fresh turkey, hummus, spinach, whole grains, reduced balsamic, nuts, hard-boiled egg, popcorn, homemade dips. Okay, so all these things help us set up our environment so that it's easy to whip something, to add to something, to make it delicious and healthy. The number one strategy to ensure success is to have an environment that supports healthy habits. And that's probably the biggest thing that, that I do differently than many other people. I set myself up so it's just so easy. I don't have to make many decisions around food. I'm not thinking actually about food. I'm thinking about preparing food for you guys, but not for me, what I eat, because I plan my menus, I prep, I like what I eat a lot, so the decisions are made. Okay, so we're going to go through the kitchen, and we're going to divide it into 4 zones to make it easy to kind of comprehend what we can do. So we're going to figure out what you can do to set yourself up so you can make it easy, prime your environment so you can eat the foods that you want to eat, and make it harder to eat the things that you want to avoid. Okay, so this is like a picture from the 1950s of the refrigerator, and kind of that's, where they still today, they're getting a little better with some of the smart refrigerators, but I don't know about you, I can't afford one, so I still have a 1950s kind of frame of a refrigerator in my kitchen. So, and this was built for food safety. So where we put on the top, that's the yogurt, cheese, ready to eat. On the bottom, we always have the raw meats so that there's no dripping elsewhere. We have the humidity markers for the fruits and vegetables on the drawers, but these don't do anything to help us eat what we want to. As a matter of fact, it makes it easier to eat foods that we don't want to eat as often, and harder to eat the fruits and vegetables because they're hidden in those drawers that we don't typically see. I know they're see-through, but you don't usually look that low and see them. So, okay, so instead, what we want to do is we want to put what we want to eat when it's ready to eat. It's got to be ready to eat format. That's the key. You can't just take carrots, raw carrots, and a big head of cabbage and put that. That's not going to tempt you. You're going to be like, oh, no, I don't have any time to do that. So you need to have it ready to eat in the real estate that you look at first. So in a moment, I want those people at home to rush into your kitchen, and I want you to look and see when you open the refrigerator, how you normally open it, where you look. Is it the top right, top left, middle, second shelf? So on your mark, get set, go. I want you to go and look. You have the advantage at home. And I want you guys here to make a note to do that when you get home, because that is in your whole kitchen, that's your most valuable real estate of all. They did a study in the UK that they had people just take out the first item they saw in the refrigerator, and most people, it was the middle shelf, okay, to upper. They also had another study where they had people take their fruits and vegetables out of the drawers and put it in the top shelf. So they had them rearrange it. That's all they told them. They didn't even tell them what the study was about. And they found they ate 3 times more fruits and vegetables just by doing that one change. So it really makes a huge difference. So where your eye goes first, I call it like the New York, Manhattan real estate, primal real estate. Just think of that. Have you ever watched your kids when they're hungry? They walk into the kitchen and I do this too, you just open the refrigerator and you just stand there. Huh, what do I feel like? It's some habit that we pick up along the way. Everybody does it. It's your refrigerator that's the number one, how that's arranged. And you should be going through your food fast enough that we don't need to really worry so much about this is in the humid and the less humid, and you should be going through it for the most part. It's going to make very little difference that way. The storage, I'm going to teach you some ways to store it wherever you store it in your refrigerator. There are some tips as to whether you should put it in the back of the refrigerator or the front or in a plastic bag or not. I'll teach you that. But I don't want you to worry about like following this 1950s. So anybody there find out where there are Primo Real Estate from that's participating virtually? If you want to shout it out, so I'll see it, or you can send it to me in chat and I'll see it when I get off the slides. So I'd love to hear, because that's really important to know. This is a picture of my refrigerator during COVID. So I had all 4 kids at home. 3 are young adults. So you'll notice that I have this ready-to-go salads on the top, because in my household, if you're a young adult, you make at least 1 meal a week. And I found that the best way to get them to actually make the meal was to have the bags. And I'm okay with that. I don't do that myself, but you know, it just seemed easier. So, I mean, it's definitely an option. It's just less expensive and easy if you put it together yourself. So you can see on the second shelf, I've got baggies of cut up, ready to go raw veggies. I've kind of converted to, I'm using disposable ones now and little containers too. You know, I'm always looking for ways to improve, just like you are. So then this is another picture from another time. You can see again, I've got the fruits and vegetables on that. My first is the right-hand side, either the top or the second top shelf. You can see the little containers there. Clear is best because produce looks great when you can see it. Glass would be ideal, but I just don't have the budget for glass. So I have a bunch of these little containers. They are kind of on the small side, but you know what? They're cheap to have. I have like 50 of them. They float around. I find them in kids' rooms, but I use this to store a lot of, I might grab 2 of them when I go out the door, 3 of them with different things stored there. You can see on the top shelf, I've got some peppers there that all you have to do is just run it quickly under the water and just throw it in, and many times I don't even have time to throw it, rinse it, and it's fine to eat that, the little mini peppers. So having things on hand that are ready to go is so important. Start thinking about what that'd look like. I've got on the bottom there's a containers ready to go of like cabbage salads with the salad dressing. Oftentimes I have a little containers that I can put on the side. I'll do that for 3 or 4 days. So just have them ready. Here's some other things that you can do. This is out of the refrigerator, but I just want you to start thinking about how to make things easy for you. So you see there in the top left, that's my oatmeal container. And I put the measuring cup in there. I always have a half cup measure, not because I'm being anal about half cup, just because it's easy. So, and I do like to have it in my own plastic container. It's just the way I am, okay? You're like, well, it's in a container itself that you could, yeah, I could probably use that, but this is just the way I do things, and I find it's so easy. That middle one is my homemade trail mix, and you can see I've got the bigger container, and I've got little containers ready to go, and that's in my pantry. I do trail mix when I really don't know what is going to happen for a meal. The trail mix will hold me over with nuts, some dried fruit, and a little bit of dark chocolate. Then on the right, the idea here is start thinking about recipes that you really love, that you want to make at least every other week, if not every week. Then start putting together the measuring spoons and cups and put them next to whatever it is, okay? Because then you don't have to dig for it, and you don't even have to maybe even clean it every time if you're just using it for the same thing. So, and sometimes I will clip the recipe right there, so that I don't even have to think. A lot of times, like I have a Cajun shrimp recipe, like stir fry that I do, and I'll use one of the little containers and make the spice all together. I mean, just, you know, it's not, you know, a store-bought Cajun mix. It's got regular spices in it, but I just mix it together. So it's so easy. It sounds like what? I'm saving like 1 minute, 2 minutes and dishes. But when you're spent on mental energy, that's a lot that you're saving there. Anything 20 seconds you can save is a huge saving when you're trying to get going. Our kitchens aren't organized like our grandparents. Our grandparents had more time allotted to meal prep. Now the goal is as quick as possible. And there are ways by organizing things this way. The bottom picture, one thing that drives me crazy is digging for measuring cups. Like, it's like, oh, I need a half cup. Where in the world is a half cup? So I just have a big container full of all different ones. So I'm never running out. I'm never digging. I'm never going to the dishwasher and rinsing. So that's just one of my pet peeves. Then I do recommend for everyone that you have some type of containers back at the backsplash with utensils that you're using almost every day. Okay, this was actually a nice one I got like 15 plus years ago, but I've actually written a chapter for a chef culinary book on how to arrange your home kitchen. And I go through, like, you can use a beer stein or you can use a flower pot and just stick in these rubber spatulas and, the whisk, the different things that you're using regularly. So they're easy to access. You're not digging through a stuffed drawer. They're right there. You can see what you need, you grab it. So you want at least 1 or 2 mugs or some type of container there against the backsplash, because you're not going to use that space all the way back at the backsplash. So those are just some easy ways to save a few seconds. Okay, so going back to the refrigerator. So on the top left, if you have ever done a co-op, you get vegetables that sometimes you don't even know what they're called. And you get like all these lettuces that, again, I'm like, I have no idea what this lettuce is, but it's beautiful and it's delicate. And if it's delicate, then you want to have it on its own. You don't want to be rolling it like on the right. So I just use a towel. Moisture is what kills lettuce. So you can just line that drawer and put some baskets like you see kind of in the bottom there, and just separate out the lettuce there so that it's ready to go. And it's going to stay longer. You can actually do anything like a more robust lettuce. You can actually roll it in a towel, put a rubber band around it, and put it in the refrigerator. Then every night you can just take out and put it in a bowl what you want to use and re-roll it up. So on the bottom one with the apples there, I do keep the apples in my drawer because I want the apples away from the other produce in my refrigerator. Apples have ethylene gas that ripens. It's a natural gas, but it ripens other things more quickly. So it's going to ripen things. And I usually don't want that to happen unless I'm trying to ripen an avocado or something. So putting it in the drawer, I just know I have my apples in my drawer. I also will put lemons in a freezer bag there. Lemons have their skin, so they're a little protected from the ethylene gas, but they can get to them. So that's why I put them in a freezer bag. And I just have a freezer bag labeled lemon. Sometimes I'll use all my lemons and just leave the freezer bag in there. So just making it easy. Moving to the freezer there's a lot of great things. Things in the freezer, are they as nutritious as fresh or less nutritious? Have you ever thought about that? They're flash frozen. So you could blanch them, and you could, if they're but if they're from the grocery store frozen, they are, what I think you're getting to, Andrew, is they are flash frozen, which actually is the same as fresh and maybe even a little healthier, because what they do is that flash freezing, they like back the truck up almost to the field, and they do the flash freezing. It's a very quick heat to destroy the enzymes that break it down during storage, so it can stay longer, and they freeze it really quick. It's actually a process that was discovered by Clarence Birdseye III. Now you know where that name came from. Mm-hmm. But because it's frozen so quickly, whereas your fresh, travels on the truck, it sits in the warehouse, and then it goes by another truck to the grocery store. So there's a longer traveling time before it actually gets to the grocery store and then into I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm just saying, really, I think frozen might be in some cases actually have more nutrients in it. So, but that flash freezing does break down some of the cell structure. So it isn't the same, we know, as fresh. So, but it's great for smoothies, soups, sauces, things like that, pesto, stuff like that in the freezer. And a lot of things I will show you throughout class, you can take and freeze on a baking sheet. I usually put, I actually usually use a cutting board because my baking sheet doesn't fit nicely in my freezer. Okay, a baking sheet's kind of big compared to a cutting board, and then I put a parchment paper on top. Then the next day when I open the freezer, I just break up the beans or whatever it is, or the berries, if I froze some berries before they go bad. You want to freeze them. The other thing you can do is roast. I always roast like my cherry tomatoes just before they go bad. I'm like, oh, I've only got a day or two left on these. Let me just roast them. So those are some tricks that you can do to get more life out of your produce. Okay, in the pantry here, organizing it, you want to organize it how your mind organizes, okay? I don't want you to follow somebody's checklist online, okay? It probably works for them very well, but it's probably not going to work for you. Maybe it will, but I'm just saying all these programs and things work really well for a very small group of people. You've got to think, how do you think? Do you think by cuisines? Do you think by wet, dry? You know, how do you think? I actually have two places. I have my seasonings because I don't have enough room in one area. So I put my more common ones, and in my mind, that's garlic and onion powder and mustard and chili powder. Those all go in a little area. And then I have the other, all the other kind of 30 spices in a different area. So you got to think, how do you think? Okay, so, and organize. These are just some suggestions, but think when you're thinking, how do you think by recipes? Do you go by cuisine? Do you go by spiciness or not? So last series, the countertop. This is a beautiful picture, but it's actually poorly done if I was arranging my kitchen, because I would never put the bananas in there, and the apples would be a maybe not, because bananas also have ethylene gas. So if you've ever noticed in those nice tiered produce kind of rounds that you can put on your counter, they have a hook at the top, or maybe you've just seen a hook for the bananas. It's not to make it look pretty. It's to get the bananas away from the other produce. That's what the hook is for. So you want to keep the bananas away from things. I do have one of those nice tiered two layered, but I put in there mango, avocados, onions, tomatoes. Okay, I do not put apples or bananas in there. They're in a different part of the counter. So, and I do like my apples cold, so they go in the drawer. So your countertop should only be whole fruits and vegetables. That's it. Everything else should be either an opaque, I do have coffee grounds, but it's in a black airtight storage container. But don't be putting sugar and things like that in containers you can see, or candy bars, or, you know, what do you call those cinnamon mints that people like to put out? Don't do that. I mean, it's just your body has to at some level go, no, not right now. Even if you've gotten used to turning it down, I just wouldn't deal with that. So keep the counters clean. And like if you have others in the household, share with them your new boundaries for food in the house. Last thing, equipment. So equipment, you want to make things as easy, accessible. So there's kind of three layers we think of. There's the everyday, or almost every day. In other words, several times a week that you're using equipment, whether it be utensils, stirring and whisking and things like that, spatula, and then pans and bowls. So if you're using it several times a week, you want it close to your prep area. In other words, not 2 steps away. You want it right there in those drawers, right there. It's safety and it's quickness. Now, something that you're using just once a week, then that can go 2 steps away. And something that you're using once a month to less, it probably shouldn't be in the kitchen, okay? Or it should be those places that you need the chair to get to. And here's the thing, your drawer should not be stuffed. Just because you have room to put something more in there, it doesn't mean you should, okay? It's called diluting. You're diluting out. You're adding seconds to getting to something. you should be able to pull that drawer that's really near your work area and see lots of white space. Okay, so my mom moved homes in the last 2 years, and I helped her rearrange her kitchen. It was a nightmare. She had great grandmother's stuff in her kitchen that I had never seen on the table. I'm like, no, get out of here, unless you want a kitchen that you don't use. So you've got to get all those things, and they can go somewhere else. And there's some memory stuff that you need to put kind of in between. You know, those steins and those spoons that carry a lot of memories that you never use. Just put them in kind of an in-between area, but get them out of your pre-mill real estate because they are slowing you down. Okay, with the pots too and the pans, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll get put a tablecloth on the table and put everything there, or they'll put on the floor a tablecloth and dump everything on the floor and go through it, because you're going to find you have 3 peelers. One which is dead, probably. One might even be broken, and pots and pans with cracks that should be gone. So you need to go through everything and reorganize. So, okay. So pausing here, I want you to take your sticky and just write down what is one takeaway so far. I've covered quite a few things for setting up a health-centric kitchen, priming yourself to eat the foods that you want to be eating more of, and making it more difficult, or like you shared earlier, just not having them in the house is also a really good way to go. But how do you make it easier? How do you organize? What is your takeaway? And go ahead and put that sticky. Tanya, when she gets back, she will catch those. And those people at home, go ahead and send me in the chat. And then we're going to get started. Our action steps, you can start looking at them. You could be downsizing your plate. You do have a really great handout with a lot of suggestions for foods to keep in your kitchen. And that's meant for you to go through and just circle some things that maybe you're like, I never thought about that. You know, jar roasted red peppers. We're going to use those in a couple weeks. That is a vegetable that you can have on hand, ready to go when the refrigerator seems like it's empty. So, you know, those are just some things that you can throw in and add some pizzazz to things. Go through your kitchen tools and rearrange them so that that prep area is much easier to get to. Okay, I want to get back and show you a couple of things here before we get started with the cooking. So, okay. I've got my work area here. I want to show you a couple of things that are really important with work. So I have here, here is your most important knife in the kitchen. It's your chef's knife. This is technically a Santoku knife. A chef's knife is usually a little longer, a little heavier. This is mine. The kitchen's here, but I have one at home identical. I had them buy this. It's a little lighter than a true kind of German chef's knife, but you want to always have a tight, close grip up there, like a handshake that you're doing. This is what you're using for your produce, chopping and slicing and all that. We're going to chiffonade today. Keeping it sharp is really important. When you have a sharp knife, you go quicker, safer, and very importantly, you don't destroy the cell of the plant. So that's why I have here the balloons. I lost one, didn't I? I have a second one somewhere. I noticed one. There it is. It's over here. They travel. So, okay. The point here is when you're using a dull knife, it's like using this knife to, ready? There we go. It shreds it. So it's going to go bad sooner when you're using a dull knife. And technically, you're going to lose some of the vitamins because the vitamin A is going to come onto the cutting board. You're going to lose that. Whereas if you use a sharp knife, that's going to just nicely glide through. You're going to keep that vegetable just as minimally cut through it very nicely. So very important. So how do you have a sharp knife? Well, okay. Do you know what this is? Anybody know what this is called? A steel rod. It's a, I usually call it, it can be called a steel rod or a honing rod. I usually call it a honing rod. So I have another one here. Both are the same. No one's better than the other. This is the one for the kitchen here. This is mine from home that I inherited from, I don't even know where. They did their takeaways. So anytime you're ready. So all you need to do for you need between 18 inches to 22 inches to hold it against the honing rod. Depends upon if you have a chef's knife or a honing or a Sentuco. Don't worry about remembering those degrees. All you need to do, I'm going to show you and make it really easy. Can you guys see there at home? So you put this down. Usually I'll put it on a dish towel, especially if you're new, because you don't want to slip. So I can't have dish towels here. I forgot to bring them from home. You're going to take it half. Okay, we're going to take it at 90 degrees there, then at the butt of the knife, and then I'm going to do half again, and then half again. Okay, so 3 times, and you're close enough to 18 to 22. So, and then I'm going to pull it towards me, the butt. And you do this 6 to 8 times if you've been doing it regularly, okay? If you haven't been doing it regularly or at all, cut like a tomato or a carrot or a potato or something first. So you kind of get a feel for how dull the knife is, and then hone it for a couple minutes. And then cut the knife and see if it got sharper. Because what you're doing, I forgot to tell you, you're not taking off steel from the knife. That's sharpening technically. This is honing, which is rearranging the metal. The metal in the knife are fibers, like a basket has fibers. You think of a woven basket. So if I take my hands and I have them like this, when we are chopping for several hours, what happens to the blade, the threads of the blade, the metal, is they go like this. Okay, you see that? So is that sharper or duller? Duller. So what we need to do is rearrange it back to this. And that's what the honing is. It's just bringing it back to here. Okay, so I usually do honing because I do a lot of chopping. I do it every time before I do my chopping for the day. They say about 6 hours of chopping, you just need to do it. So for most people, home cooks, I'd say once a week, like when you on your Sunday when you do your meal prep or something, you do honing. Now, if you hone and you're like, it's still not really that sharp, then it's probably time to actually take off and shave some of the metal. I have 2 different sharpeners. This is Wurststoff. This is for a German typical chef's knife. This is called a Rollo. This is what's recommended for the Sentuco knife. And you do them a little different. With the Rollo, I go and I keep my back and forth about 6 times. I keep the pressure even. I'm not going to do it because it's not meant for this. It's the angle of the blade that is really important. But this one, I just pull towards me. The instructions will tell you whether you go back and forth with even pressure or just pull towards you. It has a fine and a coarse. If you have never sharpened your knife, start with the coarse and going to go the fine. But again, always cut something first so you see, kind of get a sense of how sharp it is and see if it really helped. It should. I do this twice a year. I do that. Most home cooks only once a year need to do that kind of sharpening. You can have an electric one. Electric ones are fine, but they are bulky. So those work fine. You can send in, if you have a $1,000 knife, I would probably send it into a professional sharpener. This is about a $80 knife. So you can get a nice chef's knife for in the range of 30. So to me, it is worth the investment. I plan on this lasting my lifetime. So that's why you'll see whenever I cut a lemon, now it probably won't last here because we have to run it through the dishwasher here. Oh, I do not like doing that, but at home I won't. I'll hand wash it. So, and whenever I put lemon on here, I always make sure I rinse it because I don't want anything breaking this down. So, okay, the other thing is when we're working and you want to work quickly, one of the easiest things is to have a discard bowl. Because unless you have a fancy dancy kitchen with a pull-out wastebasket right here, I don't mean like there, I mean right here, you're going to go quicker with produce chopping here and putting the discards there. So you just chop your broccoli, has a lot of discard. Okay, you get that stem and you put it there. And then once it's full, you can walk over and dump it. If you're a chef, you're going to put your raw ingredients over here. You're going to put your spices here and measure. When I have to go quickly and do like double a recipe, I will put my measuring spoons with the different ones that are 1 teaspoon right stacked. So I can quickly go look at the recipe, get everything out and ready. It's called place. What is it? Place. Mise en place. I'm massacring French. Mise en place. It means everything has its place. And you're taught that in culinary school. So you work left to right. You have raw. Then you put the raw on here, chop it, discard in there if you need to add some spices or things there. You might have like a dish rag here because you might wipe off the knife with the broccoli little pieces so you can go next to something else, and you pass it, put it, finished product off on the right. The next station will get it and then use it, or you'll plate it and send it out to the patron. So this really, I mean, I know I'm talking culinary and restaurant, but it works really well. If you want to set up a workspace, you get everything out and then you can go and chop and discard. I use a discard bowl at home all the time. It just makes, especially when I'm doing my bulk prep, it makes it so much easier. So, okay, time to get going. So we are going to start with the quinoa for the berry bowl. So quinoa, how many of you have had quinoa? I got a couple hands here. So we're going to make some tonight. It's a seed. Oh, and before I switch the cameras, let's see here. We've got organize the refrigerator to help you make better choices. Yes, that is so important, guys. Finger food, veggies handy, yes. Organize my refrigerator for better grab and go foods. Yes, start thinking about what that would be. Food storage tips, fruit, go through drawers, cabinets to organize. You will be amazed how that will just change how quick you can get things out. Clean out and reorganize pantry. Get more small containers. Yes. Put your healthier food on the most easily reachable shelf in the fridge. Yes, your Manhattan real estate. Keep it actively using things in a convenient place. Yes. Get rid of items that I'm not using any longer. Yes, I know. You can have a little ceremony and say goodbye. Clean out stuff, utensil drawer. Yes. Also move the apples. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Let me check.
How about Teresa moved her cookies from last week to my desk and let me put them 6 feet back on her desk.
I know. Wasn't that nice how I just automatically put them on your desk?
I'm like, this is not going to work.
Yes, we had to get them out of here. So I was like, I don't know. I did. I put them on your desk.
They were healthy cookies.
What?
But they were healthy.
They were the cookies from last week.
Yeah.
So yes, but they are cookies. They are cookies. And they are, once you get going on one, it's just hard to stop.
Now look at that.
Okay, I do see we've got something here. I want to make sure I get you guys at home. So, top 2 shelves. Yes, that Julie, you looked there. Top 2 shelves. Yes, that's your Manhattan real estate. So just think New York City skyline when you're looking there. So, okay. So quinoa. So let me grab my berry salad ingredients here. So quinoa is a seed. It's got a ton. It's got like 8 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber for like a 3/4 cup. It actually, the Aztec warriors, in the Aztec culture, they saved it for the warriors because they found that they fought and they lasted a lot longer when they ate quinoa. So, and this is in an area that you can't grow too much. So the Aztec. So it looks like kind of like, oh, I need to switch my camera. Can you switch that to camera 2? It looks like birdseed, really. Or fish eyes. Okay, yeah. Okay, now that's a new thing I will keep in mind. So we're going to use, I've rinsed 1/3 cup here. And here's my quinoa.
It says it's controls for this guy.
What's that? Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It should. You guys should be seeing my hands. Yep, we're good. So you rinse it always, even if it says it's already been rinsed. Quinoa has this powdery layer on the outside called saponin. Some people will taste soapiness if they catch it. It's not bad for you. It's not toxic. Nothing like that. It's just nobody really. If not everybody picks it up, but I always just rinse it, even if it says rinsed.
Teresa,
I'd like to know if the other people that are at home can see. All we have is a circle with person in it.
Oh,
We're not seeing anything.
okay. You're
I-
seeing it there though. Okay, we're gonna have to probably go to, oh, there we go. Maybe this. I must have hit that when I was trying to get,
Yes,
there we go.
So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So quinoa here is warrior food. We do a ratio of, I'm good, a third a cup I rinsed and then 2/3 a cup here in the water. So it's going to make a cup. It really does great. So we're just going to put that on. This stove is miraculous how it boils like in no time. So I'm just going to start it. Normally I'd boil the water and then put it in the quinoa, but we're just going to go with it. I'm going to put it for 12 minutes. It should be okay. What? Oh, it's the wrong one. That's right. Okay. Okay. So we're cooking that. So I'm gonna then I'm gonna make the sauce, the balsamic sauce, real quick. So here is balsamic. It's a grape from Italy that I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, I can feel it. Okay, let's see. Oh, I don't want to touch. Okay, there we go. I think I'm okay. So what they do is they pick the grape and then they put them in big vats and they boil them and they reduce them down. And they reduce them down like to half-ish, and then they call it grape must, M-U-S-T. So that grape must, then if you want the expensive balsamic, you know, if somebody comes back from Italy and says, here, got this for you, and it's like a $50, $200 reduced balsamic, what they do is they take that grape must and they put it in oak barrels. Yes, it's not wine, but they put them in oak barrels and they let them age, and then after a year it's reduced by like 10%, and they put it in another oak barrel, and then they add some older stuff to it, and over time they do that like 15 years to even like they have like 200-year ones. But what happens is it develops aromatic kind of flavors, all kinds of complex flavors. We're going to cheat and we're going to develop some flavors, but we're going to do it the short. So in the store, what this is, if you look at the back, the ingredient list is, the ingredient list, okay, wine vinegar, then concentrated grape must. Those are the two things that you want to make sure in any vinegar that's balsamic that you're going to use for this reduce. This one's fine too. This is from Hy-Vee. This one I got from Walmart. I reduced this to this and didn't use any of this. This will reduce down to this little, okay? But this will last me months, okay? So what we'll do in a second is I'll just do a much smaller amount because this takes like 40 minutes to do. So, but this much goes down to this much only, okay? But this is like Hershey, it's even thicker than Hershey syrup. It's really cool. So all you need to do is make sure you've got grape must and you've got wine vinegar. You might have caramel food coloring because it's actually not brown colored like we think it is. That's coloring added to it. It becomes darker when it's reduced. So thank you. We're going to just reduce a little bit here. The trick to reducing is not burning it because it's very easy to get impatient. It's also going to stink, vinegar, okay, for those that are here. My daughter, she is a super sniffer. So she has a bionic nose. She can be 5 feet from me and say, Mom, you have BO. I'm like, what? What? So when I make this, she has to either be out of the house or she locks herself in a room. So because it will make the whole area very vinegary, but it dissipates pretty quickly. So I'll put on the vents and I'll open the doors and the windows and it'll be done in like 10 minutes. But just know what we're doing is evaporating off the vinegar there. So, and we're left with the complexity of the grape in there. So there we go. We've got it going. One way of seeing how you're doing with it is to use popsicle sticks, okay? This is a trick. So I have popsicle sticks at home that I use to just guide me. So if I take a popsicle stick at first, you can see it's not very dark. And that's with caramel food coloring added. It's on there, I saw that. So you'll see as we go and reduce, it's going to get darker and darker until this is my final product. You can see that, okay? So that's what we're getting to. It's kind of like a fifth is what we're kind of getting down to. So we're just going to boil that and reduce that down. I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. We need to get the broccoli in. So I'm going to go ahead and put this. Well, I got a second. 20 minutes is what we need. I want to show you how to perfectly roast. So broccoli, we're going to roast that because when we roasting starts at 330. That's when roasting starts. You never roast just at 330, usually 380, 400, 425. The reason we do 400 or 425 like we're doing here for the broccoli, usually for always Brussels sprouts and broccoli, I will do that because we have to go through the caramelization and go on to some aromatic development of flavors. And that happens after caramelization at a higher temps. So broccoli doesn't have a lot of natural sugar or carb in it to caramelize. Now red peppers do, which is one of my favorite things to roast. So you can do red pepper at like 380 and do it a long period and you're gonna get sweet. You do get some of the, you can get some of the charcoal on the red pepper, but that's usually the red pepper, you want that sweetness, that cooked sweetness. For broccoli, we want that aromatic. We want the kind of savory, complex flavors to come out, that dark brown, almost black spots on the broccoli, okay? If we do Brussels sprouts, the only way I do Brussels sprouts is roasted. So, because it changes the flavoring, okay? It totally brings on these aromatic compounds, but we have to do that at a higher degree. Usually Brussels sprouts is 400, 425. So, now cutting up the broccoli, I cut it a little differently when I'm roasting it versus putting it in a salad or something. So here, I'm gonna watch this. Okay, we're almost there. So you can see how I'm parting the Red Sea here and it's holding a little bit. That's telling me I want to get to Hershey syrups thickness, okay? So, but I don't, let's take it off because we're gonna burn it. So let me show you with my, see there, we're pretty close to there. It is going to thicken up as it cools. That's one of my lessons too, because I'm like, oh, it's not quite there, it's not quite there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And then I'm like, oh, it's too far, I burnt it. So usually once I get to half, I turn down the heat just a little bit and make sure I'm in the kitchen and don't go throwing laundry fold to get distracted because you're gonna burn it. Now, if you have a heavy pan, not a cheap pan, you have a heavy pan and you over thicken it and you didn't burn it, all you need to do is add some water to it to thin it out. But if you have a thinner pan, you probably burnt it. That's why the thick, expensive, like, you know, you get for weddings, like my kaffaman. So that's for my wedding, my stock pan. That's what I use for this. So, but it will thicken some.
Cast iron.
I've never used that. It probably would work. Yeah.
That sounds better.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, I probably need to talk to you because I'd love to use my cast iron more. I have done many things to try and use my cast iron more. So, okay. Well, I need some more lessons. So, but you can see here how it's already thickening up there. Okay. So, balsamic has a zing to it, and the vinegar, once we do it off, it's got a sweet, complex flavoring. So it's wonderful with mushrooms, wonderful with strawberries, wonderful with asparagus, wonderful on anything that you just want a little zing. And the cool thing is, once it's thickened, now usually I will let it cool just a little bit and then use a funnel to put in here. Because if I let that cool completely, guess what? It's going to be very hard to get in here, okay? So, but the cool thing is I can draw. It's fun to put that on top, okay? You can draw on your plate, on your salad, on whatever. and you just add a little bit. That's why I said this is going to last. It would last me for a couple months. So with the berry balsamic salad, we're just going to just use a little bit. I would probably not follow the recipe and do a 1/4 cup. I just have this on hand and I just set that on the table and let everybody add their own. So it's just a great thing to have on hand. So tonight, if you're here, you can taste it and kind of start thinking, wow, that would be great adding zing to this or that. It has no sodium. It's not sugar or sodium. It's just a grape that's been reduced. Okay, so it's a whole food, minimally processed. Okay, so back to broccoli. So what I usually do is just, as your normal, cut off the stem, but I usually leave more stem on because the stem is good for you, but we usually just don't really care for it. We usually go for the florets. And then I usually just cut down 1/2 inch. You see how I'm kind of just cutting rows there in a way? Now I might come back here and cut a little bit of that stem off, but I'm okay with this because what I'm really trying to do, I might cut it in half, but I want pieces that we can pick up and eat like potato chips, okay? I don't want little florets, okay? And I want the same height. That is the most important thing. So here, let's see, my pan here, let's go ahead and you put it in?
I did.
Okay, and you have a timer? Okay, perfect. Okay, so here I've already got some leftover pieces, but I want you to see how I put this on this pan. I take out these little pieces because they are going to burn and be useless. So I want to just go with, you can actually save those and put those in a marinara sauce, freeze them, that kind of thing, but we don't use them for roasting. So we want pieces that we can grip and just, like I said, eat like chips. So, and we want similar height on them. You don't need to get out a ruler, but this one I might divide in half there. And then I could put a couple more on here, but you want about a 1/2 inch. You don't want to crowd it. You don't want it like this. And you know how on Pinterest, they'll have pictures with all these like all crowded and have 3 different roasting. If you want them done perfectly, you do not roast together different vegetables because they have different water content. It's going to take different amounts to go through. Now, if you must, I would get your big kind of jelly roll pan and do them in corners, spread out a little bit, and that way you can take them off easily when they're done because they're not going to be all done at the same time if you're trying for perfection. And you'll see we're going to get most all of the broccoli brown, dark brown, all of them. Because what happens, most people when they roast it, it's like 2 pieces. So whoever's to the kitchen first gets to grab those first 2 pieces. So you want all of them. Usually I'll tell my kids, I have 2 kids that absolutely love roasted broccoli. I say the roasted broccoli is ready. I pull it out of the oven. It never gets off the baking sheet because they just stand there and they pop it. So so you just want to make sure you're getting the same height. So I would probably just cut that down and just put pieces like that. It's not about prettiness. It's about getting that dark brown. That's a flavor that's just magical. So, okay. Okay, we got 1/4 till. I was like, oh, are we already doing something? Okay. I do want to show you broccoli also because I want you to understand vegetables, you can prepare them all different ways. Because people be like, I just don't like vegetables. I'm like, have you really tried vegetables all different ways? Because they taste completely different when they're roasted. Roasted is one way that is just delicious for most of them. But if we steam the broccoli, here, this is just a steamer. It's got the vented tops. I don't even need to add any water. But this is another simple way to have broccoli. I'm just going to put this 1:30 in there. And I want you to see how it gets bright green because your dark green vegetables, when you slightly cook them, they pop the air bubble near the surface, and that air bubble then is kind of like cloudiness. Now it's clear, it's a brighter green, and it tastes a little different than raw. It takes off a little bit of the mildness. So, okay, so let's throw together the rest of the, we've got this done. So I just want to show you, because I've actually got some quinoa already made for the salad. But you can see there, it's just kind of like the seeds are popped there. So quinoa refrigerates very easily, and it freezes. So it's something that you can make bulk and even freeze in individual portions. So can you grab the quinoa in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
So we're gonna make the salad. So, and the Parmesan should be there. You need a container of Parmesan and the. Oh, I don't have it here directly. Okay, here's the quinoa. No, not that Parmesan, the shaved. The great, where did I put it? Oh, there, I got it. Okay. So, okay, so we've got the quinoa as the base. So we've got a whole grain, awesome protein, fiber, lots of other things in there. We're gonna add, and I'm making a double batch here. So adding strawberries, blueberries, you can do frozen blueberries just 30 minutes before, take them out so they thaw a little bit. Don't put them in the microwave, but just thaw a little bit. You could use double strawberries if you don't have blueberries, double blueberries if you don't have strawberries. So you can substitute that way. Spinach, can you grab the spinach from the refrigerator? I want to show them how you store that. So I have just chopped up the spinach there, the baby spinach. But we always want to keep any of your delicate lettuces, the moisture again is what makes them go bad. So I always, when I get home with my spinach, I always right away, whether it's a bag or a box, even if I'm not going to use it for a day or two, I always open it up and put a paper towel to bring off the moisture, because it's the moisture that's going to make it go bad no matter the date. So that's the way you keep that. So we're going to mix this, and then I'm going to add in some Parmesan. Now you don't have to add the Parmesan, but this is shaved Parmesan. I like this. You want to get the lowest salt one. You have to kind of look at them. You can also get a brick of Parmesan and just use a peeler, and you can actually make these. It's a really nice effect if you want to impress guests too, to just do it right in front of them, do curls. Really nice. So we're just going to shake on a little bit here. It just gives it an elegant taste. We're just adding a 1/4 cup for one recipe. And I'm just going to do a little bit of this. I'm going to let you guys add some more, but so that those at home can see. Look how nice that looks. And then I'm going to add on top the nuts. So look at that. Isn't that a beautiful salad? So easy. It's got veggies, it's got fruits, it's got the nuts, it's got the whole grain. Wow, amazing. Wait till you taste it. So, and here's, thank you, Tanya. Look at that beautiful broccoli. So just a minute and a half. So when I had all 4 kids at home, a lot of evenings would be crazy. And I would just put the broccoli in here, a minute and a half, leave the lid on. I'd grab the parquet, set the parquet next to it. Some of the kids will use the parquet, some don't. Parquet is still margarine, but it's in a spray, so you use just a little bit. And they can take it, throughout the evening. This will keep warm for like an hour. So it's really nice to just kind of set it that way and have people take from it. So, but there's raw broccoli, steamed broccoli, and roasted. We're going to have in a moment. So there's just so many ways to have broccoli. So hopefully there's one way that you really do take to. So let's see, what do we have left? Are we down to, zucchini, the zoodles. Let's do the zoodles. So I want to do some chiffonade basil. So, and the zoodles. So how many of you done zoodles before? A couple people? Okay, we're just not going to do fancy. I actually have gotten rid of my fancy zoodler. So the one that I sold in the garage sale, I think it was a $50 one that I was given once upon a time. I just never used it. And it was so complicated to put together and wash. So I just love this. So let me grab my spoon here. I'm just going to, let's see, is my knife in there? That's okay. No. Where's my knife disappeared? Did I hide it? I probably hid it. I hid it. So I'm just going to chop off the end here. The thicker end, usually you'll see there's a thin thicker. And we just want to turn that. Super easy. And like I said, I had that salad on Tuesday night. It was delicious. I know they must have just prepared it on site, done the zucchini like this, these noodles. But we're just going to cook them up a little bit tonight. And then at the end, you've got this here, twist it around. I'm just gonna do that. I've already got some doodles there for us. You can't do a huge homegrown zucchini, okay? Look for the smaller ones that fit in there. A lot of times also I will chop it a little bit here because those long strings look nice, but they're very uncomfortable to eat. So I usually cut them up a little bit. Here, what I did, because one of the biggest challenges when you're cooking zoodles is to keep them from getting soggy. So what I did is I recommend, if you can, 30 minutes before you cook them, that you put them in some paper towels, and I sprinkled it with just a little bit of salt, and then I put some paper towels on it, and then you just pat it down. You can see I got some moisture off there. You don't pound it, just pat it so you get off that surface moisture. So, so our zoodles are ready to go. I'm going to get going with the oil, the garlic, and then my tomatoes I've got here. This is a really cool gadget. I don't do gadgets except for this and my, these are the only two that I'm really big on. So this, all I do is go like this, and now I've got my sliced tomatoes all ready to go. So
We're all pleased with
I
that.
know, it's so easy. I love it. So we're gonna add just a little bit of oil. I'm gonna add the pan, put it on. Wait till the heat is there. Add that.
Is that an induction stuff?
What's that?
Is that an induction?
Yeah, yeah. So this is made for demos. It gets hot so quick. It's so easy to burn. So, and it's deadly on your pans. So we're gonna add the garlic, and like I said, we're gonna go real quick with the garlic. Let me get my spatula ready. So we're gonna put that. Remember, with garlic, we just let it go about 20 seconds, 30 seconds at the most. At home, you'll be able to smell it. Here we have too good of ventilation. So we're just gonna cook that. And then I'm gonna add my tomatoes there and get it off because I don't want to burn the garlic. And then I'm gonna get ready for my zoodles. Let's see, off that. I want to show you basil. We're going to chiffonade. So I'm taking a few leaves that I've rinsed, and I'm going to roll it up like a cigar. Okay, so I'm told this is how you roll a cigar. So I've never done one, but you just then get very clean cuts there. Then we're making chiffonade is, as I understand it, a French word for ribbons. Anybody speak French? So we're making ribbon curls. So there we go. We got our nice ribbon curls. So let's add our zucchini. I almost overdid that garlic there. So you got to work quick with these induction stoves. So we're just going to barely cook this. I'm going to add my scallions to get those a little lightly cooked. I'm going to add a little bit of the table seasoning. We're going very mild this week, not like last week. And I'm not going to add the red pepper. You see the red pepper, and I'm not going to, just so you get a feel for a more genteel dish. And we're almost done. So I'm going to finish off with my chiffonade there. And I'm going to call it, because the most common mistake is to overcook it. So then you have soggy noodles. So there you go. So that's all there is. That's how quick it goes. So with your scallions, I just want to point out, you want to keep the bulb damp, or you have a damp paper towel. This is not the ideal bag. We don't have any big, I guess, bags today. So, but you want to protect this, because if this sticks out, it's just going to dry out. You don't have to seal it like super tight, but you want to seal that in. What I do, you just want to rinse it off. The end here, cut a little bit off there with that dried off part. But here's, I usually start on this end. Why? Why do you think? What color is that? Dark green. What's it have in there that this doesn't have? Chlorophyll and antioxidants, darker green. So I usually start there and then I'll flip it over. Depending on if I want to use it all or not. So, okay, so scallions. So if you want to have scallions on hand all the time, like ready to go, so you just shake on scallions, you get a Parmesan cheese container, just like we had there, the shaker, empty one, okay? And usually about 2 bunches of scallions, you wash them, rinse them, and then cut them all up, 2 bunches usually, put them and dry them out on a dish towel, get them completely dry, put them in the Parmesan cheese shaker and put them in the freezer. They will not freeze in a clunk. You can just shake out what you need. So you can just add it to salads, add it to a bowl, just before it'll be in like 2 minutes, it'll be thawed. The mistake you don't want to make is to take the Parmesan cheese shaker with your scallions out and do your cooking and then put it back, because what's going to happen? It's gonna thaw and then freeze as a clump, okay? But it's a really clever way to just have so I usually have some fresh scallions in the refrigerator, but sometimes I'm like, I just don't feel like cutting it up, so I'm gonna grab my ones in the freezer. So it's just a really easy way to have them on hand. So the last dish, as we finish up, start thinking about, go ahead, our action step. Think about that, pull out the sheet. Okay, so this one, can you in the freezer for 4 minutes? It should be the bag there, bag with the backside, no, the one right there, the edamame. I can tell you what, sorry. Edamame. She's like, I can't read your mind. No, the edamame. So this is with the shell. You guys here are going to be able to taste it. So we've got edamame here already shelled. And then we've got edamame that has the shell, okay? We're going to use the shelled in our dish, but it's a great snack in the shell. So 4 minutes. So, and I have to tell you, I had to go out and get another bag of with the shell edamame, because Ivy here doesn't ever carry it without salt. It drives me crazy. I have to go to another Hy-Vee to get it without the salt, or Walmart. So I made a special trip to Walmart and put it in my freezer at home before, coming over here and bringing it here. Well, my daughter, she's like, oh, I could have edamame. I'm like, no, hon, that's for class. She's like, Mom, I really want edamame. She said, can't you go to the store before your class? I'm like, well, I could. I was planning on it, but how can you turn down a 14-year-old? She ate the whole bag, guys. She ate the whole bag of the with the shell edamame. Now, I'm guessing she moved stuff through her intestines really well the next day. So, but I was kind of, she's like, Mom, I really want, I'm like, write it on the board, hon. I'll get it for you. So, but it is a great snack, and I'll show you some of the kind of secrets to it. So, okay, I'm going to make a double batch of this real quick for you. It's super easy. So the base of this is broccoli, slaw, and as I was putting this together tonight, I was thinking, well, if you had zoodles, you could use zoodles instead if you had zucchini. I mean, this is quicker, definitely, but now I'm totally taken by that salad I had the other day. I'm like, oh, that was so good. So if you would like to, it'd probably take like 2 or 3 zucchini to zoodle here. You could do that instead. So, and we're going to add in our edamame shell. Edamame is immature soy bean. It's super high in fiber, high in protein. It tends to be an easier to just bean, quote unquote, for people than if they're having trouble with, chickpeas or pinto beans or things like that. This is really a good way to go. It's pretty, it's green, it's simple. So we're going to do that, and see, oh, that's for the edamame. So I'm going to add, now they don't make Paul Newman's vinaigrette with sesame. They used the balsamic vinaigrette with sesame oil. I mean, it had sesame, it had a sesame accent. They don't, but they do have it's a little different construction. It's a balsamic vinaigrette. I'm going to actually use the balsamic by Kraft. they're very similar if you look at them. One's a little lower in sodium, one's a little lower in saturated fat and sugar. So they're very close. So you find, look at labels. Like I've said before, if you do get jarred, you're usually going to have to there's a little give and take if you're not making it at home. The sodium might go up a little bit. You might have a little bit of sugar, but read the labels. So the Kraft one is what we're tasting tonight. So I'm just going to mix that up. And then I'm going to add on some unsalted peanuts. You can find these anywhere. Most people just don't know that they're there, unsalted. So we're going to add that. That's going to be a nice additional protein. The soy nuts will be protein. Yay, look at that. Go ahead and show them here. The broccoli was just pulled out. See how perfect that is. That's perfect roasted broccoli. They're all dark brown. Those are all great. Thank you. So that's the trick. It was 20 minutes top rack, and having them all similar height, spaced out. That's the trick, guys. And then I'm going to add some cilantro here. I do have avocado, the wholly in there, if you want to pull those out. I like to add avocado on top of this. Cilantro, I know we're at the top of the hour, but I want to tell you the trick. Cilantro, if you want it to stay for 20 days, all you need to do is take the bunch when you get home, rinse it off, cut just a little bit of the stem, just like you do with flowers. If you want them to last a little longer, you cut a little bit off the bottom, get some water sucking up the stems. And sometimes the cilantro is like this long, so you want to cut it off so it can be, you can squish it a little bit in here, but I just put 2 inches of water. You don't want the leaves to be getting in the water. Unfortunately, this was a short bunch that they didn't do a good job of actually keeping the leaves out. But you don't want the leaves here because they're going to get soggy. They're going to get ruined. So, but usually you can just cut, the stems are there. You've got the florets up here, and it's rinsed. So all you have to do is pull out what you want to use. Now, typically with cilantro, it's the flower, the leaves here that we want to use. The stem, a lot of people it's more bitter a little bit, the stem. There are tools that you can pull them through. You will never see me doing that. My daughter does that. You can pick off them if you want to. Again, you won't ever see me doing that. I do not have the time to pull off these. So instead, what I'll do, I'll take a bunch, and if you do a little brushing, a lot of times you'll just get off. That's good enough for me. So, but you will see some people pulling through and taking them off. That's because the stem is a little more bitter. So that's totally up to you. But, and then you just need to change the water like every 3 days. So, and this will last about 20 days. So if you've got fresh cilantro at the store. So last thing is edamame in the shell. So let me show you. One trick is to add rice vinegar, not the season, just rice vinegar. It's a trick that the Asians do to bring out salt. So you're not adding salt, but you're bringing out the salt. You'll see in a lot of recipes in the Asian culture, they use rice vinegar. Let's see. Get that there. So I'm just got like a half a tablespoon here for this. I'm just gonna sprinkle that on. You're not gonna taste the vinegar. Just gonna. Okay, it's a little bit burning hot. Let me blow that a little bit before I show you how to eat this. Let me take you guys off so you can see. Oh wait, let's see here. Yes, there we go. Oh shoot, I took that off. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see, settings. There we go, device settings. And the camera. So you pull it through your teeth. So like that. So I ate the two in there, the shell. So that's how you do. It's a great snack to do. Costco, typically Walmart, there's a brand, it's red, like it's kind of got red to it, but they have little packs, like a third of this that you can put in the microwave. You can use as snacks. So, yeah, they vary whether they carry. I know Costco has before. I don't know if they do right now, but I know Walmart the other day, I saw it. I thought about getting it, but I was like, oh, we won't eat that much. So, but yeah, so you want to look for the micro, just, it's nice to snack on. So it's just, you can sit there and actually, make sure you have your action plan. And next week we're going to do wraps and plant-based. So a lot of fun there with the wraps. So, but edamame, my first introduction to edamame in the shell was in Hawaii when I went to a restaurant called Roy's. And instead of having chips or bread before the meal, they had edamame in the shell with their special sauce. Now this was like literally 20 years ago. And at that time, it was like a big deal. Like, what's their special seasoning? Now it's all over the internet. You can buy it, I think. But it's a pretty well-known restaurant in Hawaii, Roy's. It's not fancy, but it's got very Hawaiian cuisine. So, so my experience with edamame is like very elevated. Like I have very good memories of it, and that's what we'd eat at the table when waiting for a meal to be prepared. So, so something to think about. Some new ideas there. So.